Hi, everyone. It's episode 79. And what are we talking about today, Katie?
Today it's more X-Men.
X-May! That's right, we're going to be doing Days of Futures Past, The Wolverine, and First Class in this episode of
Cup of RAD.
I know, changing up the intro a little bit more, right?
No. Oh, by the way, I'm Katie.
And it's Mike. We're coming at you on our X-May RADnesia watch of the X-Men franchise.
Yes.
So not much has really been going down. We've been watching more Community. We blasted through season 5,
Surprise,
4
surprise.
and 5.
Yeah.
Because they were shorter seasons. And we started season 6. I will say, though, seasons 1 through 3 have been my favorite.
Yeah.
4 and 5, there's been a few episodes that have been hilarious. Mm-hmm. But season 6 definitely feels different.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, because I'm excited to be watching it, but I have this feeling that when we get to the end of season 6, it's going to be like, okay, it's good to be done. But I think I would immediately go back and watch episodes from seasons 1 to 3.
Yeah, and there's a couple of key ones, like the puppet episode, and then the G.I. Joe episode from season 5.
Oh, that G.I. Joe.
Jobra!
That was hilarious.
Right? There were some really good ones there.
It's been 20 years and we haven't been able to shoot each other. We might as well join forces.
Go Jobra! So there's hilarious. I'm still laughing a lot. Yeah. I love the quirkiness.
Yeah.
So, but that's been
we commented though that it's been a while. There's some things where it's like, that's funny, when you watch a show, but Community, we full on laugh out loud.
Yeah. And real gut
and it's been a long time since laugh. Like a sitcom has made me laugh out loud. Like SNL will make us laugh on occasion for like sometimes it'll just be hilarious, but this one is all the time just laughing.
So it's definitely something to watch. I'm hoping with like the fact that it was on Netflix here and it's seen a big surge. There's like the rumor mill is buzzing about the possibility of the movie. Yeah. So that'd be kind of cool, even if it's just a Netflix original.
Yeah.
But we did it again. We were like stuff on the PVR. Then there was a couple things on Netflix, and last night we were just like, "What do you want to watch?" Well, maybe we'll do something different. And they were like, "No, you know what? We need to get Community done. We need to finish it. Like, I don't think I can actually watch something else until it's done." Well,
Justin didn't help by making me feel like it was a race.
That's right.
Justin got ahead.
He's behind now, though. He hasn't started season 6.
Okay, so good. We need to keep going.
So
we need to win. I'm not competitive at all. I don't know.
That's hilarious. So, I was playing Pokemon today. Yeah. Kiddo has convinced me to try his sword and shield. His sword he has. Yeah. And he was teaching me how to do that. And
because we're trying to teach him that there's strategy involved with this. And because he was getting frustrated, not being able to properly fight them. And all that sort of stuff. So a huge shout out to our buddy Theo, though, that helped him, kind of traded some different Pokemon with him and kind of gave him a leg up on a few things to give him some hope. Yeah. And I think that was part of it. It was like, wait a second, there are positives to this. And listen to you a little bit more about trading up some powers and some
switching
moves.
Things up and double upping on different things, right?
Yeah, so now there's strategy involved with it, and so now there's been big jumps going forward, and then you were having a great time. You had a couple evolutions happening.
Yeah, I lost 2 of my Eevees to evolutions.
It was so sad. When things were evolving, you were just like...
I was distraught,
so upset.
I was like,
my baby's growing up.
Like, here I am at the campsite, giving it food and playing with it, and then, like, next thing I know... I go do one more little, get attacked in the wild, and, suddenly it becomes an Espeon on me. And I was like, what the heck? And then...
But it's so cute.
It's so, it takes a little bit. Then that owl thing he had me playing, that Rowlet. Yeah. It evolved, too.
It has, a weird hood thing going on.
Yeah, and I was like, all my Pokemon, they're evolving.
Well, it gave me a chance, though. I played more of my Sims University. Yeah, Mike laughed at me when I told him, I was like, I enrolled in debate club, and you just were like, oh my God.
Right.
Went out and bought university sweatshirts.
You're literally playing Community right now.
I know, it's great. I'm working my term paper and my presentation and doing my homework, and it's good stuff.
It's horrific. That's like a horror video game.
I know. I don't know why. It's just, you know what? I could easily see how this game itself, though. I mean, I have the girl enrolled in 2 classes, 2 core classes and an elective. You can take 4 core classes and electives. I can't imagine doing that because I'm already stressful and not sleeping because when you live at the dorms, you don't have a kitchen. And so I bought a mini fridge. And so I have a mini fridge so I can make like sandwiches. But then I don't know like the schedule of the cafeteria, so it's hard to sleep. And she just takes forever to walk around and do things. And she goes in other people's rooms and she's a little scattered. So I'm having a hard time. Like, I have another sim that's enrolled that lives at home, and I think it might be easier because then she has like her own space and like necessities for things. So anyways, yeah.
Real life.
Real simulated life.
So last week we touched on a couple of the X-Men movies. We had touched on the X-Men Origins Wolverine, and
there's been so many
the Last Stand. And last week I had been talking to Theo de St. Drabal about those, and he had some thoughts about how, Origins was, when it was sort of his jam, but as it went on, it lost its luster, right? So which was interesting. And then I talked to another friend, and he took me up on the challenge of stopping at the when he jumps out after he gets his claws. But the completist in him made him go through it, and then he had messaged me back and said, I should have stopped when you told me to. I was like, I can see what you meant. Like, so there you go. There's hope, right?
Right.
So we were able to jump in it because this was a long weekend. So we decided to take advantage of the long weekend, and we doubled down and we added an extra one. Last week, we didn't say we were going to do Days of Futures Past. This week,
we added it in. First thing we started was X-Men First Class.
First Class was the reboot, or so we thought, the reboot of the X-Men franchise.
It was a reboot at the time.
Matthew Vaughn came on to completely do something different that hadn't been done, to tell the origin story of Professor X and Magneto and the creation of Cerebro and the school. Yeah, so it starts back in the 60s, early 60s there, and it's, when they're all young and bright-eyed and finding each other, and so James McAvoy takes the reins and he gets to play young Xavier, and Michael Fassbender plays a young Magneto.
Yes.
So you get to get a little bit deeper into the scene with Magneto back in World War II, and that is when Sebastian Shaw is introduced, played by Kevin Bacon.
When you see his history more so than, and I'm going to word this properly, the concentration camps were obviously horrific, but then you see even more of the pain and the horribleness that he would have gone through by being experimented on as well.
Yeah.
After following the trauma of the concentration camps themselves. Yeah. And so you see how he has lost faith in humanity, and how he believes how easy it would be for him to believe that there is a different species and that they are more evolved in the future.
Yeah.
Because look at what something so horrible has done, and he sees the idea of how species can turn on itself and not see the good. He has a very clear vision of the evil of humanity and not the good at all. He has absolutely no hope.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him for it. And as it goes on, you see how twisted he is, but he came from a twisted origin, and you have, like, you don't want to feel sympathy because he is killing people at some point, but you also understand. And so I like the conflict and the complication of his character myself. And I still really enjoy it, though.
Well, when I was talking to Theo there, he was talking about, it was amazing to see how Eric turned, and how it was a turning point for his powers, right? It showed that, it was a difficult time, and the fact that his mother was taken away, and it provoked his powers, right? It kind of gives him that justification of where he was going for his actions, right?
Yeah.
And it's that wonderment, as he had mentioned to me, if this had never gone on and his mother had never been murdered, would he have gone this path?
Yeah.
Would his powers have shown up the way they did?
Well, yeah, right? Would his powers have shown up through anger like that? And yeah, you always, all the villains always have that one bad day feel, right? where something really kicked in and just set the course, and it's irreversible.
Yeah.
And they cannot get it back.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is pretty crazy to think of, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to watch Kevin Bacon play this, like, you know, fake Nazi, like, scientist,
Right?
you know, that's on his own path, showing so much excitement.
It was hard to see that because he's so positive. He's not scared of him. And it's kind of a weird thing before you realize who he is, right?
Yeah.
You're like, why is he not freaked out? He literally Eric was throwing around a room of knives, and you're like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, he's sitting there
He's
just
so
smiling.
excited.
Wunderbar.
What the heck?
Yeah. So one thing that I think with First Class, I think that was nice was it was stylish. It moved away from the big Hollywood X-Men with that grandiose, stereotypical superhero soundtrack. And it made it into something that felt a little more real. And it had that gritty kind of James Bond
They were like
spy music.
It's kind of funky.
That that groovy.
It fit the time with it well,
right?
almost better.
So I think, you know, Matthew Vaughn really did a fantastic job crafting that
It definitely felt different. It felt like a reboot should be, where it was like completely, you know, not the same thing, and it had its uniqueness. And that's why I really loved it. And it's because I was interested, because I remember really enjoying this movie, and I still really did enjoy it. And so it was enjoyable that I still really felt a strong attachment to the movie. For sure.
Flowed with the RADnesia element.
I was
back
like,
those rad vibes.
You know, after having so much X-Men going on, it wasn't like, okay, well, I guess this is happening again. It's like, oh no, okay, this is a little breath of fresh air for me.
So with Kiddo watching it, he really thought it was a great movie compared to the last ones.
Yes.
He really liked Professor X because he was more of the lead.
Yeah, he liked that he wasn't so in the background and everything. He liked that he was an actual main character.
Yeah. And he thought Darwin's power was really interesting. Right?
Yeah.
How he was supposed to be able to evolve through everything.
Yeah.
And then speaking as well, another one of the mutants was the Azazel mutant. He thought he was pretty scary, right?
Yeah.
So,
because he was just fascinated with
he likes the idea of teleportation, so that character really steps up for him, right?
Yes.
So, and speaking of Azazel, that was one thing though that Theo had also mentioned to me. He had said the idea that he was like, you know, was asking about him, and yeah, he is in the comics and stuff. He is Nightcrawler's son.
Yes. Which is very clear.
Mystique and Azazel have Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
So
we looked up the history of it, and it's quite funny. It's because Azazel is an old like race of mutants, biblical time mutants, and then these their race was banished. It's almost an angels and demons thing.
Yeah.
And their race was banished to a different dimension. He can still hold on to the ability to pop into this dimension, which is the bamfing aspect.
Yeah. And that's where Nightcrawler technically goes while he transports.
Yeah, and so
right?
and it said that as I say in the comics, that the only way he can continue holding his grasp on this dimension is to have children. So he goes around having children, and he found Mystique, and it was just like he's just making babies just to hold on to things, right? So
and that's what gods and demons do, though, right?
Yeah, and
it's a common thread through mythology.
Yeah, exactly. They just do that whatever suits for them, right? Yeah. And so I thought that was interesting, and it shows with the Nightcrawler from X3 how not X3, X2 with Nightcrawler that he was clearly his son with the powers that he had.
And that's one of the things. That he had. Whereas like he was more of just a hired thug, so they picked powers almost that were just like cool. What can we use again, or what do we, you know?
This one looks like he can kick butt.
Yeah, right. So. That unfortunate nature when studios do that, they just pick and choose, and you know the average viewer, of course, isn't going to necessarily know certain things. But if you look into it, you find out, well, maybe this should have been a bigger part, or there's more to this character and reasoning for this character, right? And,
we had more spinning from the Storm guy.
Yeah, that's cool.
More spinning.
There's always something spinning in an X-Men movie.
Riptide, I think it was, or something like that.
So we get a new set of mutants. We get Alex Summer, who is technically Scott Summers' brother. He's Havoc. The chaos powers of throwing energy from his belly.
You know what? That's very very confusing for someone who doesn't know any sort of comic history. Because even Kiddo, he was like, but I thought his name was Scott because he just heard Summer and then he sees Red, and he was totally confused. Like, what did they do to Cyclops? Basically, it's like, oh no, he's really, oh okay, so.
Right. I wish they had gone with the original First Class if they were going to reboot it and just take everyone back, right? But at the same time, then you realize that they probably were trying. It was the fact that they were eventually looking to just soft reboot it in some form, right? Mm-hmm. But we get that. We get Banshee. And we get.
I like that character. That was it was actually pretty fun. Like, I was waiting for him to kind of be a snot-nosed irritant, and it worked out. It was kind of fun with it. So
I also, when we get Beast right from the beginning, Beast is like the one of the ones that are in there that is actually in First Class.
Yes,
and we get him in human form for a bit.
How was Beast in this movie for you?
I'm not a big fan of the giant feet aspect because like he never had feet that like uncurled, but it was just their way to show it.
I don't understand why his uncurled feet also makes him a speedster.
Yeah, but that power goes away. Like he never uses it again.
No, like why? I don't understand.
Yeah, but they just wanted to show super speed for something. It was just a precursor.
I just thought it was funny to pay someone. I don't know.
But yeah, I like the vibe in that movie. Like, there was a few other things. There was
like the mix with history too.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun thing where it weaves it into like, what if this was actually happening in the background of real events? Yeah. Like, this could be real. And I thought that was really fun. I like that they didn't cast JFK, that they only used him on his actual, news conferences, that they didn't actually,
well, it makes no sense,
that.
Really. It's just,
there was no need for it. It all just kind of fit in with that. I like the bit of a deeper story with it, that the kind of the pawns and Shaw just playing everyone and kind of making the world as, go together like that. And, for him, he was trying to start World War III with nukes, and how close it really was, and I really like that storyline.
Yeah, I like too that we actually get like the blue and yellow costumes in some form.
Yes,
and they gave them reason. They were flight suits to handle the G's and all that.
I know Kiddo was very excited to have some color.
Yeah, right.
Because he just did not like the black at all. It's like, yes, I like the colors.
And that's what's kind of fun, right? Like it's definitely just that. I don't know. It brought something different to it when it kind of felt like the franchise was stale. Yeah. Especially after the last two, right?
I thought I really liked how Xavier showed, opposed to when he was older, and I know he was more established in the school, but it really showed him teaching them about their powers and trying to bring unlock their potential rather than just, we're going to stand around in this circle and philosophically talk about big, deep events. It's like, no, one-on-one, like what matters to you? And like his coaching of Eric was just so heartfelt and real feeling, and him trying to explain, a place where he can get to use his power. And it wasn't just calm. It wasn't just, you can't feel anger. Yeah. It was finding that place, using the negative to fuel a positive, and his faith and his hope. And it made Xavier, you could see where he was the good guy, but I also like that he's not bright and shiny completely. You can see where he can get that way. And as the time goes on, you can see that he has the potential for it. But his relationship with Raven, you can tell where he's so similar to Eric, where he still thinks he's better than people, but he doesn't truly believe in that mutant pride feel of really being, he can hide everything. He just likes that he has this power, but he doesn't want to feel like he's separate from someone else at the same time. And he's, stuck in this gray area as well. And that's why he creates the enemy with Raven, is because he doesn't accept her for being blue, her real mutant ability. Right. Yeah. And so I thought that was an interesting context with that, is that he's not bright and shiny and the pure white superhero aspect. He's still human, very human about it, and still vain and worried about appearances and worried about fitting in. And so.
No, it makes sense. Like, it gave the character more levels and all that. It's difficult to see because you want Xavier to be a bit more bright and shiny, but in the comics and stuff, he's always had those hints that he's done things to suit his need when he needs things to happen. Right.
And it's that concept that then with Eric and him actually still being that relationship, they are on different sides, but they can work together because they kind of are. They're very similar, you know?
And it shows too, though. They're instantly realizing that he needs that helmet. That he knows that Xavier can be dangerous.
Oh yeah,
right. And that's the thing. Is like the moment that he needs that helmet shows that he has distrust in what he can or what he's willing to do. Right.
Yes. So. Exactly, because I mean, and if you have distrust on someone like that, then Magneto knows what he would do with his power. So he assumes, okay, well, someone also has power if that exceeds my own for what he could manipulate things. So I know what I can do. I have no doubt of what he would be willing to do as well. So you recognize that in people, right? And he doesn't want to needlessly kill people, but at the same time, he still manipulates things around, right? Yeah. He still wants to control people, and he realizes that he still wants to try to control her. It's not, I want you to make your own choice for things. Yeah. So, but I liked them when they got on the island in Cuba and they're trying to get to Sebastian Shaw, where, you know, he's sucking all the nuclear energy and trying to break through on that, and just. Then you have those moments where Xavier is quite helpless if he can't connect to something. Yeah. Then he's all stuck. He needs other people to kind of open up these pathways to him, you know? So. Yeah,
that was a great scene, especially when they were fighting on the beach there and watching the missiles fly and explode.
Back and forth. So intense. Like, oh my goodness. Like, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, the one thing that was kind of weird, one thing that did bug Kiddo too, and it always bugged, they used Moira McTaggart as an FBI agent, even though she's the one that's, you know, the scientist over on Muir Island, right in Scotland. And, you know, so it's
like they had to get that in there.
Yeah. It's that idea of throwing in a name just for the sake of throwing in a name. Yeah. You know, for sometimes. Yeah. It's the same like show having Angel, you know, that's the Tempest character, but she has the aesthetic of Pixie.
You know, so it's all just mixed all over the place, right? And confusing.
So that's one of those are its kind of flaws, you know, or the fact that they are talking about doing a reboot and they still put Hugh Jackman in as the Wolverine. Yeah. Right. So that there was the point of it being, well, it's not a full reboot. It's just a soft reboot.
So I don't know why. I was absolutely hysterical.
And this is also the first of the X-Men movies to start this trend.
Yes. So, of course, it shows a whole montage of Eric and Charles going and trying to find all these mutants. And they show up in this bar, and Logan is sitting there at the bar. Jimmy at the time, I guess. And so he's sitting there, and all they do, they walk up behind him, and he tells them to go fuck off. And they just turn right around and leave. And I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, you laughed for a good 5 minutes.
You looked at me like chuckling. I was crazy. I'm like, but it was just so well delivered between all of them. It was like, it almost looked like an outtake. Yeah. Like they were just going to try to go and deliver this line, and he just tells them that, and they're like, okay, peace out, and done. And it was just so hilarious. And yeah, it was weird because you could start seeing the encroaching of profanity in the movies and everything, right? And,
on that PG-13 level, that that sudden like, whoa, there's never been an F-bomb in an X-Men movie, and now there is. And from that point, there is an F-bomb in every X-Men movie.
So I thought that was funny. But
so what do you think? So do you recommend people go out there and find First Class if they've never seen an X-Men movie?
Yes, I still love it.
I've never seen it. Yeah. And it is on Disney Plus. Yeah. So that's even better if you're Disney Plus subscriber, because then it's part of your subscription. Right, well, and I like that, you know, of all the ones we've watched up to now, I still really, I loved it when I first saw it. And I still, if I was going to watch any of them, I would choose to watch that one still. Interesting. It's up there. It's up there as one of my favorites. It's you know, X1, 2, and then First Class. They're all part of that conglomerate of what I think are good X-Men movies.
Yeah, like I can definitely tell that I liked X-Men and X2 more than I remembered liking them. But I really like seeing. I think I like seeing Magneto and Xavier out in the forefront.
You do like that relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. So go find it. Go find X-Men First Class.
There you go.
Okay, so we rolled into The Wolverine. So this one here, last week, you were not excited to watch?
Yeah, I had it in my head that it was a movie that I really disliked. And so I was excited to watch it again and see why I had that in my head.
Right.
And as soon as we started watching it, I was like, wait a second. I think I know what happened here.
Well, instantly too, though, Kiddo was not excited about seeing another Wolverine movie because he was worried that it was going to be the same thing as Origins.
Yeah, he really did not like Origins.
Yeah, he was very. It was not his thing, and he was unhappy with it. So, The Wolverine takes place after The Last Stand.
Yes.
It tells a story of Logan being distraught after having to kill Jean Grey and runs off into the wilderness to be a bushman.
Yes, he turns into a mighty fine bushman.
Right? Only to be found that you find out that he had helped in World War II. Someone survived the bombing. Mm-hmm. And
in Hiroshima, let's be
sorry. And
specific which bombing?
It's very monument bombing. So he then is called to Japan by this old man that's dying that he had saved years ago. Mm-hmm. And then
he goes into the context that he's supposed to be saying goodbye to him. And, because he's finally...
Because he told the old man to keep the sword that the old man wanted to give him back in the day, right?
So he gets dragged over there and shows up. And then you find out, he's being treated for cancer. And there's some shifty blonde doctor. And some creepy green mist going on. And things are weird.
Yeah. So it's basically trying to get that old Frank Miller, story, the brown costume Japan story, with Chris Claremont and all that. It's that kind of ode to that Japanese story, right? Yeah. So it's kind of riffing off that. It's directed by James Mangold, which everyone knows that he went on to direct Logan. Which we're hoping to do next week.
Yes.
And that was considered one of the best X-Men movies. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of a little background on that. But so watching it, what did you think when you were watching it? Okay,
so when I started watching it, I started remembering the story more and more. And I was like, okay, I remember actually really liking this. But what has tainted it to me was I remember the ending it. Mm-hmm. And the ending ruined it.
Yeah.
Less of the movie ruined it than, say, Wolverine Origins, where it was a whole huge chunk of the movie.
Yeah, you can pretty much watch this all the way through before the weirdness hits. And
I enjoyed the different movie threads itself, the different action sequences, because you don't know exactly who the bad guy is, and they're chasing after the old man's granddaughter, and you feel like the doctor's shifty, and then you feel like her fiance is shifty, and you don't know who's trying to kill who. And in the meantime, Logan's what appears to have been poisoned, and you don't know what's wrong, but he's not healing. Yeah. Which is a big, huge problem, obviously. He's not used to that. Yeah. And because the old man had promised him, he's like, I want to give you what you want, and I want to give you your proper death. And, it's not fair for someone to live forever and see all the pain. And then you just realize he's crazy and power hungry and wants to live for eternity himself. And so that's, he basically, he wants that power. And so he said, you can transfer it. But then he dies. And so all this stuff is happening. You're not quite sure what's going on. He's just trying to protect the lady. One thing I enjoy about this is the romance that is involved, because I normally use so much rage on it. It did felt genuine. It wasn't like she was the, head over heels falling in love at first sight thing, but the shared trauma of it and the closeness that can then ensue because of, a shared experience for something, right? And, but so watching all of this, I was like, okay, I don't know why I was so angry about this. And as I say, the ending just taints it. There's a few things where you're like, really? They just had to do that? Yeah. And the Silver Samurai was weird.
Yeah, so for me, I really like seeing the action element, like the action adventure, Wolverine actually doing more because he was on a solo adventure by himself. Mm-hmm. The one thing I was sitting there, I was like, you know what? Mangold really kind of got the Wolverine in the movie. And then I started realizing, I was like, wait, both movies he's directed, the Wolverine is lost his mutant power. Yeah. And I was like, that kind of sucks when you think about it, because he's not actually being able to be the Wolverine, right?
Well, that's why when he got his healing factor back, I was like, oh, okay. Then we had a moment of awesomeness.
Who are you? Are you a ghost? Are you a demon river? I'm the Wolverine, right? Yeah. And
I want John Wick Wolverine. Yes. I want him to just blow through the world, just killing people and be in a machine and just being like, holy crap.
Yeah. I want that.
I want that.
Yeah. The guys that did John Wick need to sign on for a Hugh Jackman Wolverine in his prime style movie.
Yeah.
Where
just mowing down people where it's like, oh shit, the Wolverine's coming.
Yeah, right? That Baba Yaga feel where you're just like terrified, and
that's what we need.
Instead of him losing his healing factor, he just needs to get damaged so much that it slows him down.
Yes.
Right? That kind of feel. But yeah, it's the ending for me on this one too, just like how kind of, at least it wasn't the full third act. Yeah. Like Origins. But there's some like really great moments in the movie because he has his his claws through all of it, so you get to see that, and like the bullet train where he's zipping around.
Yeah,
that's a really cool scene.
That's actually, it looks cool CG wise too. Mm-hmm. It is very. And it
still
fluid.
Looks cool.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this isn't very clear that it is put together. Like, this looks like real effects and everything because of the G's on their face and everything would be a difficult scene to film. So
and we get those scenes where he's shot and he's still like and then like the sword battle after when he gets his powers back, right? Mm-hmm. Really awesome. And then you get the scene when he comes to the town to save Mariko, and he's walking along and they're shooting the arrows in it. That looks straight out of like a comic book. Mm-hmm. Like you literally can see that inked line version of him hunched over with all the arrows and all the like. That's my favorite shot of that entire movie.
Yeah.
Right. But then it jumps the shark.
And then it's like, what just happened?
When they introduce, Iron Man, Silver Samurai.
Yeah.
And then, let's have this machine that can cut off adamantium, and then we're going to suck your life force through your bone marrow.
And then it just all falls apart.
And it actually really bugs me, and it is a thing too, because when I talked to Theo, he had said he didn't like the fact that his bone claws grow back out through the cutoff chunk of the adamantium. And that doesn't necessarily make sense, right? It was like, how do you have the adamantium still sticking out, and then when you bring it back in, because it's just bone.
Yeah, because it was just a little bit of it was sticking out. Well, then where did the adamantium go?
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's so many unanswered questions.
It opens up that door of like, the powers. It only exists it's like they didn't think it through.
Yeah, they had. I told Mike if it had been like, oh, there's a liquid vat of adamantium, I'm going to stick my claws out. I'm going to go dip my claws in adamantium. I don't even care. That would have made more sense.
Right.
Where we're suddenly going to have new adamantium claws. Yeah.
And that's the problem is that the problems from as much as those things don't bother, like they bother me, there was always the hope that there was going to be another movie that was going to solve all this. Mm-hmm. And that's where the problem lies, is that you go from this and there is not another movie to tie up what happened.
Yes.
It goes right into Days of Futures Past and doesn't explain anything.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Iron Man 3, when he takes out his heart and blows up all his stuff, but then the next movie is an Avengers movie, and everything's back to being Iron Man.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? So it's that weird time jump where
it's like, it'd be one thing if it was all on its own timeline and just existed outside of it, but then it's not at the same time.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's those things, and that's one thing too. He felt it was too much of an action movie when I was talking to him, like adventure, and he said he's only actually watched it once all the way through. And,
but yeah, see the ending, just then there was so much things that was, and it just, that's what I remember from it. And then that's why I was so angry about watching it again. And if all the weird battle things hadn't, it just stopped there.
Yeah, it sounds funny, but they easily should have just come up with a way to sap his power through a psychic or mystical way, almost.
Well, it still could have been Viper. She was still having a way to,
or you know what, make it that the sword that he carries, the Mamasar blade or whatever it is, I can't remember how to say it, instead of it negating his healing factor, make it that, they figure out a way that if it goes into him, whoever holds a sword absorbs his powers. Mystical, weird, but doesn't involve cutting off the character's claws and leaving him with bone claws for some reason.
Yes.
Right? Especially when you're not going to continue that thread through.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
And I think that's the thing that tears it, is like, it's like the Empire Strikes Back moment where you're like, whoa, what just happened? Our favorite hero doesn't have his claws anymore.
Yeah.
And now he's going off on another adventure. only to never deal with that.
Well, and you know what? This movie wouldn't have been lacking if they had left his claws alone. He still felt like if he got close to anyone, they died. Mm-hmm. He still felt like he can't trust people because they're all just trying to use him and they're lying to him about things. He still was, backstabbed in a way, and he found someone that he obviously cared for who was just now was going to go walk away from her. And there was still a storyline that happened without worrying about cutting his claws off. So that was completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
It didn't help the story at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was. It makes it even worse too.
Yeah.
So
it's like, it's a shock value for the sake of shock value.
Yeah. And I remember that was the moment that made me hate the movie so much. And that's what I had in my head was like, God damn it, they step on his claws.
Right. Like, and that it's that confusion, right?
Yeah.
So that then leads into the post credit scene where he's coming back to the States and Magneto and Xavier show up. Now, this is the Xavier from the original timeline. It is Patrick Stewart. So then you have the question of like, well, so that means that he then sent his consciousness to another body and is back as like it's implied in X3. But yet, why does he A, look 100% like Professor Xavier? B, why is he in a wheelchair again? Right?
Yes,
and
you're right.
So like it's like that movie itself. They wanted to forget that X3 happened almost, except for
all the gene stuff and the torture of that.
Yeah.
And
So because what that is, that end credit scene was a tie-in for Days of Futures Past that was added in after, because on the DVD of the Wolverine is the actual real ending that was supposed to happen, where she gives him the brown suit. And you see that and you go, there was supposed to be another movie.
And you cry because he almost wore a costume.
He almost had his costume. He almost had the mask and armor, and it looks really cool in that case.
Yep.
But we don't get it so that they can do Days of Futures Past.
I would like to know, if it was still supposed to tie into it, why did it never occur that he could have been wearing that costume in Days of Future Past? Why couldn't that have happened?
I don't know.
Even just the very beginning.
Well, because I don't think Bryan Singer likes costumes.
Singer. Yeah, and then everything went black again. Singer, damn you.
So that's the thing, right? So with, say, the Wolverine, you read. Yeah. Oh, so Kiddo.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I like Kiddos. We asked him, so what did you think of this movie? And I quote, "It is 10,000 million times better than Origins." I was like, I'll make sure I specifically state 10,000 million times better. Yep. So that sums it up right there for him.
And what's interesting is because it's more dramatic.
Yes.
Right? There's less silliness. It's more dramatic.
He liked within the movie itself, just if you look at the movie, he liked the no continuity issues because it was contained by itself. He didn't
notice the continuity until he watched Days of Futures Past, and then he raged.
And he liked seeing, he actually liked seeing the Wolverine without his healing factor, but still how much he was pushing through things, that he wasn't just laying down and dying. Essentially, his pushing through all of that. He really did enjoy that. He said Viper was really scary, and it really freaked him out with what her power was, and her molting and everything was creepy.
Yeah, it was creepy.
And he liked, he said it was insane with his open heart surgery aspect.
Yeah, that was pretty gruesome. This pushed that PG-13 a little bit more than what we were thinking.
Yeah, he was just like, oh my God, what's happening?
Because you add in the bit of the love scene, you add in the extra violence, you add in the additional F-bombs that were there. Still, all PG-13, exactly the same rating as X-Men and X2 and X3, right? And the boundaries are being pushed for that same rating.
Yes, exactly.
Which is wild to see, right?
Yeah.
One of the scenes that I really liked was when he goes to talk to her fiance.
Oh yeah.
And he throws him off the balcony. And as you mentioned, he doesn't even skip a beat. He just grabs him by the tie and throws him off the balcony.
Yeah, he follows on his promise. And I love that because it was just, he's like, well, I told you everything. I didn't like what you say. And throws him off. And I love that there was no hesitation, right? Yes, because I hate that.
And then you would notice too, though it was nice at the end when the grandfather gets stabbed in the head and the neck, that she doesn't hesitate.
Yeah,
and Wolverine doesn't hesitate either when he stabs him with his claws and throws him off the edge.
Well, because she just walks right up there and she's like, "No, I buried my grandfather," and stabs him in the neck. I'm like, well, hot damn, you weren't even questioning it. You weren't some long-winded like, why did you do this? I need answers. Well, no. You're crazy.
Yeah.
You're dead to me.
Yeah.
You're a monster.
And I thought that was a cool
thing. Because nothing is worse than that drawn out where you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. So I like the movie. I like it more than Origins. But it runs in the same problem where the ending just kind of taints it a little bit.
Yeah.
It bothers me.
Definitely does not end as horrible as Origins.
There's some really good scenes and there's a lot of throwbacks to his adventures in the comics in it, so I still really like it.
Yeah,
it's up there as one of my ones that I do enjoy.
Well, we own it, so that alone is a step up for it.
So now we move on to X-Men: Days of Futures Past. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Matthew Vaughn out. He went off to direct Kingsman. And Bryan Singer stepped back in. So Singer hadn't been in the X-Men universe except for a producer since X2.
Yeah, Superman didn't work out for him. So.
Yeah, right?
He came crawling back to X-Men.
So Days of Future Past loosely tells the comic book story of the fact that bad stuff happens in the future.
Bad stuff happens. The whole world turns into a weird sci-fi, war zone in the very, very near future. Considering their ages. Kiddo was he's like, I don't understand. They don't look any older.
Fair deal.
I love how everything's black and dark and the atmosphere is destroyed.
Well, even just from the cutscene
weird rocky crags they're hanging out in.
Where it was it was 2 years when they met him in the airport was 2 years later. So there's a missing adventure that they never got to tell.
Yes.
That they should have done. And then, that's 2 years after. And then this is I think I read somewhere that it was only supposed to be 2023.
Yeah, so shit went down fast.
But Sentinels have overrun. Trask has created a mutant hunter sentinel. So they
stole
decide
from Asgard. That is literally all I can see.
The Destructor.
The Destructor, whatever. The things that shoots fire at Thor.
Yep.
That's all I can see every single time. It looks like it's from Asgard.
So they do that, and they send someone back to the past, back to the 70s, because they already did the 60s. And chaos ensues.
I like that you don't see what's actually happening at the very beginning. You don't know. It's just... things start happening. You're like, what's going on? They're all being killed. How is the movie starting like this?
Yeah,
oh my goodness. Right? And then they disappear. It's just like, what the?
Yeah.
So I like the hook with that, though. Yeah. It was exciting.
Oh, yeah. It started out excellent. It definitely had that. So you got to see Bishop. Bishop shows up, and Blink.
And Kitty Pryde has a new power.
They use Kitty Pryde, and she's somehow able to use her tangibility to send people in through time.
And it's never explained.
But Ellen Page got to play her again.
Yeah, Kitty Pryde's been played by, same actress.
They should have just cast someone different because it would have been hilarious.
It would have been. Be like, nope, sorry.
I mean, we really don't know what she looks like.
Someone every single different time.
So you find out that they got to go back, and the only one they can send back is Wolverine because he can handle the trip, because they say that going that far back in time will tear a person's mind apart.
And he basically needs the healing factor to be able to do it. So I thought that was interesting. So
we get to go back. We get to have Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellar in the same movie as Fassbender and McAvoy, playing the same characters in the time-bending reality heist. I feel bad for like ragging on the movie a little bit because I do enjoy it. I do have a lot of fun.
Some of it's like super weird at the same time.
Yeah, because a lot of it's not really explained. Like they spend a lot of time explaining some things and not any time explaining other things. Right. One thing I do give it kudos for is Beast looks 100% better than he did in First Class. He's no longer that Cat Beast, and if you know me as a Beast fan, I hate Cat Beast. I'm sorry, but New X-Men Cat Beast really does
so
suck.
much.
It is horrible because most of the time he looks like a horse when he's drawn. So him going a little bit more beastly without the cat nose was very much appreciative on my part. The thing though that I can't give the movie credit for is basically turning Beast into the Hulk.
So we have a Thor villain, we have the Hulk. They just ripped it right out of Marvel.
Like I don't know. Like that really bothered me, and that was one thing that bothered me with the trailers was like, he's suppressing his power with drugs except
for when I get angry.
Yes,
you wouldn't like me when I'm blue and angry.
And it bothered me because then he wasn't awesome though. He still was a little more weak, except for like a couple of the key scenes, like in the climax and stuff. He kind of like just was not cool.
So like when we show up at when Wolverine shows up at the now completely decrepit Xavier school, and you and me both were like, I cannot remember why Charles is walking.
Yeah,
we're so confused. We're like, why? What did we miss? What happened? Is this another thing they're just not going to explain? Like suddenly they healed paralysis. Like what? And it took way too long for us to remember that. I don't think we actually did remember. It was finally told us what had happened.
Yeah, it was the fact that he uses
I don't know what kind of why the treatment is.
But you know what? In the comics and the cartoon and stuff, when he goes to Savage Land and the power, his power is negated, he can walk again. So
that doesn't make any sense. The science part of me, like that can accept mutation and mutant abilities, is still very upset with
suddenly this. Science fiction is not okay. 1 minute it's just like, yes, this is awesome, and then it's like, no, it doesn't fit in my bubble.
No, it does not. It's not a gene. That is a broken nerve that cannot be healed.
Well, especially because he had this one clearly states that he had a bullet through it.
Yeah, this is not just like a mental block and depression. This is literally physically ripped apart. But I digress.
I know, right? It's that same idea where they have things that fit the need for the story at the time, and
and I understand the point of the story. It's trying to say that he has to choose between what's important to him. The concept of being it's a plot device of being the mutant and having his ability and his power with that, or the ability to walk and not have anything kind of wrong with him concept. And so I understand the plot device.
Accepting others' physical mutations.
Yes, exactly. Right. And then of course it plays part and parcel with Beast and him trying to suppress everything and go from there with it. Right. So, but so we got to see Quicksilver.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome.
His debut in that. So at the same time, you had Age of Ultron and this basically competing for who was the better Quicksilver.
Yeah.
Definitely this one here has a better effect for it.
Yeah.
Just because you got to see a speedster's power pretty epically.
Like
in this,
how they should do Flash in DC.
Well, that's what I said when I was watching it. I was like, this would be cool if this was in a Flash movie to show, because everything's moving so slow or stuff's not moving at all.
Yeah.
And you're actually clearly seeing the character. It's not just a blur zipping around.
Yeah, it's so much more, because then you're actually involved with the character itself. And it's funny to be able to see him be able to move stuff around as if they're inanimate, and Kiddo really loved that scene. I knew he would, but he really, really enjoyed that. He just thought it was great.
It's really sad that was just kind of a one and done moment for that scene. And they just like, thanks for your help. Peace out.
Yeah. It's like, no, he seems like someone who could actually really help you. Like really help you.
Yeah.
Someone who could run around and stop bullets might be helpful when you're trying to stop someone from killing someone with a bullet.
Or giant robots.
Or giant robots, and being able to run up on them and everything, and whatever,
So you have Wolverine coming to the past in his own old body. So he's got to convince everyone that he's from the future and blah, blah. And it's hilarious to see the scene where, he's in his old body. He's got his bone claws back, but in a surprising take, in the future, does he have bone claws? No, he's got his metal claws back, which they fail to explain. When he goes
back at the end of this and everything gets all twisted up for jumping.
Right. so everything's in the movie. He hasn't gotten his medal in the 70s yet.
Yeah.
Right. But he has his medal in the future.
Yes.
Right. So, which is really weird.
So then you start questioning
what happened
between realities, and it
what
just
happened
hurts your head.
And yeah. So they're basically trying to stop Mystique from killing
Trask, which then shows the world that those robots are a necessity, right? So
because her DNA is used to make the new Sentinels that can absorb or mimic powers.
Yes, they just evolve into anything, right?
Yeah.
So they take Quicksilver to break Magneto out of the Pentagon, which is when you get that epic scene of him running around and changing all the bullets and setting the scene of everyone before the speed starts again, the reality, right?
Yeah, your normal speed and everything flips around and falls down.
Yeah, so and I like that, this is the first time that, because Magneto is in prison for apparently killing JFK and being implicated in that, and you have Magneto and Professor X seeing each other for the first time pretty much now since the beach, and all the anger and the rage between the two of them, and of course, why wouldn't I enjoyed that situation for sure, right? So
they play off it very well, right? And so that is all remnants from Vaughn's original script, because it was never supposed to be Days of Futures Past. It was going to actually deal with Vietnam and the JFK assassination.
Oh, okay.
That was where his story was going to.
So all that is
similar to the missile crisis. He was going to weave a story based around that.
Oh, okay.
And then the studio wanted Days of Futures Past, and
so they somehow managed to put it all together.
So they put some of his old ideas.
Thought it was interesting with them using mutants out of Vietnam and taking their blood from there and showing how much was being siphoned back into Trask Industries and all the research they were doing. And Stryker was there. And
not the same Stryker that was in the same 70s time frame as Wolverine Origins.
Yeah, which is always good, right? And I like, the first time that Wolverine sees Stryker, his mind starts breaking, right? Because he starts splintering and he starts remembering things, and because his old body wouldn't have known this, and new Wolverine, new Stryker, and all this sort of chaos, right? And so he just starts having a mental break in the worst time possible. Yeah, and so in the future, he's then of course having physical reaction, and so Xavier's trying to calm him down because he breaks and he loses the future himself, right? And
that scene's hilarious.
That scene's great because he's like, what's going on? I don't know who I am, blah, blah, blah. And Charles just looks straight out and says, you're on acid.
Yep. Someone gave you some bad acid.
I was like,
you're having a trip.
That's so funny because he's lost in what to explain to him. He's like, well,
because he tried explaining to him.
Yeah. He sounds crazy, right?
It didn't work. So he's just like, well, 70.
Yeah. I just thought that was great. Kid was like, what?
Right, and that's the thing too, where I say the movies got darker, right?
Yeah,
and they dealt with darker subjects. You start seeing more like sex and more violence and more language and more situations. So then they go from something where we can show him easily without having to really explain anything because there's comic book fun, and now they're like steeped more in like real.
Well, even
so now we have to like pause and be like, he's not using heroin.
Right, that's what I was just going to say with his treatment. I mean, it looks like he's shooting up heroin, and it's definitely a same allegory for it. The concept of running away from something and hiding behind something, and at least with that, we were able to tell Kiddo it's just a treatment for it.
It's a drug,
but it's he doesn't know anything else about it. But
at least it does show it in a bad light, though, that it was stopping him from he's
potential.
Drinking, he's
completely strung
irrational,
out, right?
Yelling at people, not being who he is, right?
And so I liked that. They're working throughout the movie. And then he has this weird. He goes back and talks to himself in the future, to try to have that pep talk with him. And I like the counseling almost from it that because if you're not happy with yourself and you can hear all the pain of everyone else, if you can't process it, then understandably he's broken, and that whole conversation he has with future self was really touching because it's that concept of like, that's almost his superpower, as he says, the ability to bear everyone else's pain and not break. And he's afraid of his own pain, not everyone else's.
Yeah.
And he needs to process that and accept that. And when Eric does yell at him about how much he felt abandoned as well, it kind of knocks him off his high horse a little bit and be like, you're not, you weren't the only one that was hurt in this situation. You have a responsibility as well. And it shows them kind of being how clearly they are those two pillars, the two sides, and everyone almost looks up to them in one way or the other,
Yeah.
And if you can't just have Eric without having Charles.
Yeah.
And they need to be standing strong to help the entire community and not just one or the other, right? So I like seeing all that development there, right?
So you just always wanted to be Charles and Xavier. It's like the Odd Couple.
Yeah.
You just want that relationship.
Yeah, if it wasn't clear at all, So,
a few things I was curious about, though, is like this shows that the 10-year gap to Magneto's helmet is different.
Yeah.
It's not the same helmet. It's a different design. Mm-hmm. And it's also damaged and beat up and weird. It's like,
what happened?
Right. So like what happened there? Mm-hmm. The other thing that I didn't really like was I really felt that it was missing that soundtrack from First Class.
Yes.
Magneto's theme. They went back to that generic X-Men sound for the movie. And anytime when Magneto turned from helping to being the bad guy again, that First Class, like spy Western, spaghetti Western theme should have kicked in. It
reminded me of James Bond feel, because I can remember it every time in First Class. You're like, oh, Magneto's theme's right there.
Yeah. And like that should have been in there when he goes bad again, when he goes rogue. Not just that regular kind of grandstanding X-Men theme.
I don't remember it.
Yeah,
and that's the sad thing.
Yeah, exactly. They should have kept that feel, at least some continuity feel between those movies to merge. If they'd merged the two soundtracks together, it would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think they missed that opportunity with it, for sure. But I like the movie. I have fun with it. It's a pretty good romp. There's a lot more you got to kind of like leave at the door, because it can make you angry with trying to piece together all the parts.
You know what I like? It's really intense at the very end and the whole standoff, and it takes longer than it should a little bit, I think, for Mystique to make up her mind. Because when you see the future and how close they are to dying, and it's just overwhelmingly suspenseful, even though I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I like how Xavier is finally able to get through to Raven and finally acknowledge that she has a free will and her own choice, and she has to do something that she thinks is right, and not because Xavier said this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I like that she finally stood up and had she did have the opportunity to do something to help them, and it shows that was a super positive thing with that. And so if it had ended there, then it was okay. It was when Logan went back, and then it was all weird connected to the other and rewrite timelines and everything. And then it was just like, it left with a weird taste in your mouth, because it was kind of strange,
because it doesn't make sense why he would wake up in his other timeline and everything's all peachy keen, which is fine.
Yeah.
But then in that timeline, then,
well, the people
Last
involved
Stand doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, and the people that were involved in the past, so Beast, Magneto, and Xavier, all should know, what was going on and things like that. And so it really does change everything, right?
And it shows then that it erases, or is it just it's the branching of another timeline?
Yeah.
And that's the confusion.
It splinters, yeah.
Even like the confusion of, say, the X-Men comics, where there's that confusion where there's multiple timelines and there's all these things happening, right? That like where you're not supposed to rewrite it, you're just where's the prime timeline?
Exactly.
Right. And
then my head starts to explode when we try to figure it all out.
But one thing that Kiddo asked though was, well, what clause does he have in that future timeline? And
we never see it.
Right.
Because we don't know.
When we get to watch Logan? Is that the Logan from
But where's that Logan come from, right? Because in the past, what he gets picked up what looks like Stryker, but then it turns out to be Mystique. So he doesn't meet Stryker then. Does he still find Stryker at some point in the future?
Or is this a different Logan that doesn't affect that timeline? right?
It hurts.
Because then they never used that version of Logan anywhere else.
And we'll never know because it will never show up again.
Right? So it literally, there's so many questions.
Right?
And that's what happens when you do time travel, when you try to do things, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that could get messy with the MCU, with them starting to use time travel and multiple realities.
I'm a little worried about that.
That it could cause its own time paradox for destroying its own universe from not knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but as a whole, I think Days of Futures Past is an improvement over what we'd seen.
Yeah.
I think it's still in the top of some of the best X-Men movies.
Yeah.
Because it does have a pretty fun story.
And Kiddo really liked this one too.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't until the end when he started thinking through, and then he started finding all his like issues with it.
He was confused and surprised how much he said changed in the future. He was just like, how did that world happen in the current continuity of all these movies we had seen? How did that happen? So, and with them not being any older, if it had been visibly aged, it would have been different. He's, so that was what was really kind of bothered him, right? So understandably. But he's like, we asked him, we're like, anything? I can't really pinpoint anything I dislike. So, and he's proven that he can point stuff out that he dislikes. Yeah. So
on his own too. Yeah. Like when he gets on it, because what we've been doing is we don't say anything about it. Just we end the movie end the movie, and we bring up the notebook and we say, "What do you think? What did you think?" And he talks first before we interject anything about the movie.
Yeah.
So he's coming up with his own theories and his own
and this one too, I'll give Singer this, at least he didn't have as much corniness as he had in some of the first ones.
Yeah, it was early 2000s over the other ones.
I know, so it was just part of the movies, right? So there wasn't as much of the corny. Some of those lines were better delivered than before, right? So but
we're going to be going into X-Men Apocalypse, and Singer directed that one. And we both know that we have only watched that movie once. We saw it in the theater. I left angry.
And we said, what the badonk is this crap?
So that's going to be an interesting rewatch, because I say we watched it once. I've never watched it since.
Yeah. I'm interested to watch it again.
To see where it goes. If I was just not in the mood for the movie that day and something happened that really bothered me, will I enjoy it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Or will I still be mad at whatever it was that happened in it?
Because I don't even think we really know exactly what made us so angry about it now, or if it was the entire thing. Or
because I'm going to say right now is that this is going to feel not so much of a RADnesia,
almost a new watch,
almost like a new watch, right?
Yeah. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah. And then we're going to break out from Kiddo watching, because he can't watch Logan.
Yeah, good
conscience, I can't do that. So, but we're going to watch Logan, have a rewatch RADnesia or Logan with you. And if time permits, we're going to do the Deadpool movies too, without Kiddo as well.
Yeah.
Because we got to wrap up the X-May with more X-Men, right?
Yes, definitely.
So, that has been this week.
Yeah.
And it's been an exciting week. You got 3 X-Men movies, and it could be 4 more.
And I'm excited for Logan. We're going to try to watch the noir version.
We're going to check out the noir version.
Because we can.
I opened up the disc, and then the noir version fell out, and I was like, hey, want to do the noir version? She's like, sure, whatever.
We haven't got to watch that yet.
Yeah, why not? So make it even more interesting.
Right? Something different.
We haven't rewatched that. We rewatched it as regular, but we haven't watched the noir version.
So it'll be good.
Or maybe by the time it comes, we'll just want color and we won't want black and white.
No black and white. Dark and gritty.
That'll make it less violent, right?
Sure. Be like Sin City,
Yeah. Maybe we should watch the color version.
Like, no.
Huh.
Violence.
Interesting. But there you have it. A pretty good week for X-Men movies. Last week was a craptastic week.
Yeah.
This week, we had a good time, though.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, though, I am enjoying about having this whole month planned out as being this theme.
Yeah.
Because it's made it kind of interesting to see and
living and breathing X-Men.
Everything.
We've decided I want to start making some themed movie nights between decorations, and we've been wanting, because we miss Disneyland, and we've been wanting to watch some of the old Disney movies, so it'd be fun to watch an old Disney movie and have some we've been planning an Alice in Wonderland one. We can make some have tea and weird trippy food and watch the movie, and so we're gonna try to theme some stuff, because we really always love that, and making kind of more events, and this just kind of even reminds me a little bit how we like our theming things, right?
So, yeah, who knows what next month will bring.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
We were planning to figure out. So if you're enjoying the X-Men movies with us, because I know there's a few people that when we've that have been listening to the podcast and they go watch the X-Men movies.
Yeah. Curious to see what you think of these ones.
Yeah, let us know which out of these three, which ones you liked the most, what you liked, what you didn't like. It's always a pleasure from hearing from any on it. So, so next week we're back in it with more X-Men. So, you know what? Stay rad, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening. Want more rad content? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review.
And remember, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes!